Greetings, community. It's Kevin, 1-2 Comic Talk, and with me is Christy Shin, Horror Studios. Hi, Christy.
Hey, how's it going, man?
I'm doing well. I missed you last week. I
I
know the
know.
community did too.
Yeah, I was just kind of, I'm going to say it, like, I think everybody has had their bad mood in this whole thing. And I was just kind of like, I hate people. I hate the dumb fuckery they're degenerating to. I mean, I don't want to say everybody because, everybody's trying to keep sane and do all the things and everything. But there were just some people like, just stop, enough. You're not making this any better. You're spewing out into the atmosphere. And seriously, it's not needed right now. So I know what you mean. Like, just people are just like,
Yeah, it seems like right now we're all living in. There's an ancient saying, an ancient Japanese saying, and it goes as an insult, which says, "May you live in interesting times."
oh, it's Chinese. It's Chinese. I know what you're talking about. I think it's Chinese.
Well, and I think it changed from that Chinese saying, but I learned it as a Japanese, but it changed. But yes, so you're familiar. So my point is, right now we are living in interesting times. You know what I mean? And it's just, it is what it is, and we're all reacting kind of psychologically expected by certain psychologists. So it's almost like an interesting little petri dish is going on right now. So. Yeah. But all that aside, I am glad that you're here, and I know what you're going through because I kind of feel the same thing. But again, aside from that, the cool thing that we got to bring to the community is we have an individual that what I really like about this person is this individual shows how, to me, it is a great representation of how it is to overcome certain adversities. The other artist that we had in the past was Mr. Dylan Gilbertson, and he also wrote a story about his challenges in life, and then he kind of changed it and used metaphors and symbolisms and wrote an interesting tale that drops at the end of this month, finishes, which is Sweetheart. What I'm getting at with this person, which is most known for his series Blastosaurus, is this individual has to overcome a lot of obstacles to be able to bring his love, his labor of love to the world. And it's gained a lot of success, and I think it's very underappreciated for what it does. But as opposed to me going on and on and on, I would rather just bring this individual in. And this individual is a Mr. Richard Fairgray. Hi, Richard.
Hey, how's it going, dude?
Yeah, I'm good. It's too hot, but I'm good.
Well, I guess I guess if we have to complain about anything, I guess that's not too bad, I guess.
That's true. Like, I keep having to kind of remind myself that, like, no matter, there are so many people in worse situations than me, and I'm assuming you guys, since you're, functional and alive and not dying in hospital beds, and like, so
True.
Yeah, I'm complaining about the heat, and yes, I'm angry all of the time at anyone who's not wearing a mask on the street. But mostly, I'm okay.
Well, good. I mean, I know we're all kind of going through some of the similar stuff, and yeah, it is a little warm out here. We're all here in California. Sorry, people, if you're either loving or hating us for it, but it's kind of warm out here, and the air's not really moving. And especially where you live in that Hollywood area, it's so filled with asphalt, and if you don't have any air moving, it gets hot.
Yeah, and I'm in a very old house. We have air conditioning, like, air conditioner window units, but it's not a house that's well laid out for air traveling through it. So, like, and I'm in a room right now where if I turn this thing on, it would be so loud that you guys would not hear anything.
Oh, yeah. Well, I appreciate the fact that you're inconveniencing yourself for us and the community. I appreciate that.
Hey, that's what doing video interviews is all about.
Well, hopefully we won't, give you some type of heat stroke in the midst of this. That we don't want to see.
I when I first moved out here, I'd been at Comic-Con, and we hadn't had a place to stay the second night, so we had driven back after a party at like 3 a.m. and then had to crash at my friend who was driving at his parents' place in Orange County, and then so there was like no sleep really, and then we got back here early in the day. It was during a heat wave, and I was walking. He had to go straight to work, and I was walking from where he worked through the streets of Hollywood and to the place I was staying. And I hadn't had any food or water for like I have no idea how long. And as I say, I'd been at a party till 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. And what I remember happening was waking up with Superman giving me Pepsi. And this woman ran over, and then Superman left. And this woman ran over, and she was like, "Hey, I wanted to show you. I got a picture of this." And she shows me this picture of Superman carrying me and putting me in the shade because I'd passed out on the street. And I asked her to send it to me, and because I wasn't yet on an American SIM card, I never got the picture. So there is this picture out there somewhere of that Superman. He died relatively recently, and when he did,
yeah, that was that guy that you were telling me. I heard about it. I was thinking it was the same guy you were talking about.
Yeah. He used to steal newspapers out of one of the machines on Hollywood Boulevard, and I used to walk down in the mornings to get my coffee, and I would hold his cape up off the ground for him. So I feel like it was all full circle.
Oh, that's sweet.
Interesting. Wow.
Now,
so, hey, Richard, let's, if we could do regress. How about if we, for the community, give a little bio on you? Now, you are originally from New Zealand, correct?
Yeah.
And you're an author, illustrator, right? Yeah. Penciler.
I do the everything.
So colorist, inker, it all, right? You're a full compass. Now, beyond that, I've had individuals much like yourself that do it all, but none of them had the same, how should I say, uphill battle that you do to do your work. Can you explain to the community some of, let's say, your challenges to do your work?
So as you can see, I have these funny wonky eyes. So this one has about 3% of the vision of a normal eye, and then this other one is just dead with no feeling.
Oh wow!
And so I technically can't kind of process stuff in 3 dimensions, and I see tiny little pieces of things. But I have the cause of this, and also the reason that I'm able to function, is that I have a chemical imbalance in my brain where I don't release things in cycles. I release everything all at once, all of the time. So my dopamine, serotonin, melatonin just pouring through my brain circuitry at all times. And so my brain doesn't really go into sleep patterns, and it caused the eyes to get all messed up. I was born with this. But it also means that I process information really fast, because I'm kind of always in fight or flight mode. And so if you sort of think of it like a film, you're seeing 24 frames per second, and so it's flashing by, and so it creates a sense of movement. Basically, I'm processing things at about 900 frames per second, but each frame is tiny, and so I'm just kind of seeing these little bits, and my brain is having to put it all together, which is why the eye wobbles around like it does. So
for you to do your work, right? Could you describe how you? Yeah, could you please describe the community how it is that you have to actually do your work because of this?
I have to have really bright lights, which is horrible when it's hot, and I just have to be like this far from the page. If there are plenty of pictures of me online, just down there with the pen, and I have to just kind of keep in my mind what the entire page looks like, and then go in and do every piece. So a lot of it, I have a good memory, so a lot of it is kind of just remembering and putting it together, and being able to, even if I can never see an entire page I've drawn all at once in any detail. So I kind of have to create an overall sense to make sure that compositionally it's nice in my head before I start. And then
now, like you said, however, in your head, you have the full piece there. You just have to, like you said, just retain the image and then put it on. So how long does that process take? As far as doing a single, let's say, a page.
Well, I mean, a lot of it's like mathematical. So I'll think of the image in my head. I'll figure out what the measurements would be in my head for each panel, size and shape, and then, just rule that up. And then from there, that means the page is broken down into smaller pieces that I can work on, and I have the image in my head, so I know what I'm going to be putting into each one. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I've been doing this long enough that I'm pretty good at putting together a page, but it's like there's like little things you'll notice in my older work where like a character's head will like drastically change size between two frames, and it's just because I hadn't thought about the fact that we're not getting any further away from him, but yet somehow he's so there's like little things like that which go wrong. But for the most part, I'm putting together completed images now, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the work, and I've been actually plugging the work for a long time. You were speaking about a Comic-Con. So where we were first introduced to your work was at a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
We walked up to the Golden Apple booth.
Mm-hmm.
My son and I, which he's sleeping right now because he stayed up until 6 a.m. playing video games.
Mm-hmm.
But he says hi, and we had walked in and introduced ourselves, which I've been patroning Golden Apple ever since it used to be down the street. So they've been around like 45 years. I've been going there for like 40.
You've been there the whole time then, because they had their 40th anniversary last year.
Then it's been like 37 years, just short of when they opened. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my point being with that is when I reintroduced myself, said, I used to remember seeing the father there. I remember, how it all used to be, and then introduced my son and said that we have a show called 1-2 Comic Talk. He had given us books of yours.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first books that we had received to ask to review on as a show.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it's the summer special. Mm-hmm. So this is what we were given. And
no, we met way before the summer special.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, so then it had to be.
You came in because you came into a signing. I don't know why I'm getting this.
I did.
Pointless, but you.
But
came
I
into
also received other book. I must have other books somewhere then.
Yeah,
but my point being,
issue 4
is that God, I can't. Maybe it was an annual. Maybe it was the annual. But what I do remember is he gave us 2 books to read, 2 freebies. And I read that, and I fell in love with what I'm getting at is your story brought me back to my youth. And what I mean by that is what I was reading was a Saturday morning cartoon. Mm-hmm. It took me through a story that I don't know if I'm legally able to. It was almost like a Scooby-Doo cartoon, mm-hmm. Where I got to go through a nice story, got to go through a fun little adventure, got to solve a neat little mystery, but there was these little moral lessons, these little social, background things, these little jabs at, the way we perceive things or how certain people might look at things. And I really respected the layers that was there, something that's for kids, but as an adult brought you back to the day of a kid and then gave you all these neat little lessons that just, like I said, reminded me back as a kid when I was, waking up at Saturday morning and turning on the cartoons. So I appreciate, and I have no idea how you were able to grab that nostalgia and put it into a comic. That's impressive.
It kind of reminded me of like the same wit as Calvin and Hobbes, like it was perfectly okay for kids to read, but it didn't. Remember how I was telling you I liked it because it didn't dumb down the dialogue. It actually was good. It was kid appropriate, but it's like, oh, kids can understand normal human adult conversation. We just have to give them a chance to learn that,
Yeah.
So I really liked it.
Thank you. When I was a kid, my teachers, I guess the equivalent of first grade, teachers called my parents in for a conference because they thought there was something like deeply disturbed about me, because I would just start giggling at these like what seemed like random points. but it was because the teachers were having like grown-up conversations that were above the kids' heads, and I was just sitting there listening and being like, "That's quite funny. You're saying, you're talking trash about the principal. That's hilarious to me." But it didn't occur to them that I would be listening or comprehending that. I think like when I was a kid, I didn't necessarily want to hang out with other kids. I wanted to hang out with adults because they seemed cooler and more fun. They seemed smarter. And I think that like that as an adult, I'm able to sort of capture that energy and like write stories for the kid that I was.
It's what I like again is it like she says, it doesn't dumb down any of the dialogue. And what I was floored by, and it took me probably 3 readings, is right when you open the first page and it gives you a breakdown, a little understanding of who the main character is. It took me, like I said, 3 times to read it going, wait, what? What is this character about?
I mean, he's real.
Can you explain to the community about Blastosaurus and who he is and what he's all about?
He is a crime-fighting Triceratops. He lives in a laundromat that doesn't obey the laws of time and space. And these 2 kids named Richard and Tabitha are there with him just having adventures. Because, I mean, the key is that, like, Blastosaurus is not the main character of his own book. Richard and Tabitha are. And their friendship and their excitement to be having adventures is just being hyped. Like, I try and write it as if the comic would be like Richard and Tabitha should have their own series of all the things they've done, all the adventures they've been on, all the stupid things they've been doing before they even met Blastosaurus. The change is just that there's a new person there who happens to give them access to a different kind of adventure. And this kind is like one with monsters and vampires and anything else I can kind of throw at them.
Well, that's another thing. The setting is fun as hell. This unique setting of where they're at in this town where everything is just really odd.
Well, so what it is, and I can kind of, so Blastosaurus, because of the pandemic, Blastosaurus is on hiatus now, which sucks. Because A, we're in the middle of a storyline, and 2, I like him. He's my favorite dinosaur. But it's going to be a long time before any of this is revealed, so why not talk about it? Because otherwise I'm going to be bored and have the story in my head forever. Freakout City is a place where literally anything is possible, because Freakout City is a place where like weird stuff used to happen here. It's the place where time travel was first created. Time travel is not in my story because I don't care about time travel. It's going to be there sometimes, but it's not my big thing. But when you remove something from a space, in this case time, the universe has to buckle around it. Like if you make a hole in your arm, you get a scab because it clusters and it fixes. And so what's happened is Freakout City has the only way the universe can fix itself when a time machine leaves is to buckle and create this like this kind of suture. And that suture is made from all the different realities that are possible. And so there are these little clusters of possibility littered all over this place that are causing the kind of breakdown. So like, it gives us this freedom that like, okay, a meatball fell on the ground. That's fine. That could happen anywhere. But a meatball fell on the ground just happened to happen at the exact same time that enough energy came through from some other place where meatballs could be alive that this meatball woke up. And then when Blasto steps on him, thinking it's just a meatball and not even noticing it there, and just like, oh no, I've got meat in my foot now. He has to go off and clean it. Because obviously he doesn't wear shoes because he has big dinosaur feet.
Sure.
But it turns out another meatball had come to life as well. And it's like, oh my God, you just killed my brother. And then goes and eats his brother's remains, grows larger, and then travels around Freakout City eating all the spaghetti and meatballs and Boy Scouts and dogs to become big enough to come back and fight Blasto. But it's a story. I think the best stories are the stupidest ones told well.
It's kind of true. Yeah. I swear to God, I swear in the Holy Bible, I wrote a giant blue doggy to the candy planet all the time while you were sleeping. And I'm so not lying. That type of shit.
Yeah.
Like Matt Groening wrote that as part of a cartoon once.
Yeah, and if you turn that into something good, I mean, it's like, do you know the movie Bubba Hotep?
Yeah, I know about it. Yeah, it's funny.
I know.
Stupid concept. Elvis and JFK fight a mummy. But it's like this really heartfelt story about two old men in a retirement home who were just trying to like claw back some glory.
Yeah.
And so you care. That's the whole thing. As long as you have really good characters who are grounded and real and with human emotions, you will care. The friendship between Richard and Tabitha is so real. The way they're so desperate to impress this dinosaur, who really is just a curmudgeonly old man who lives in a laundromat who happens to be dinosaur shaped. It's like that motivation that keeps all of the adventure going all of the time.
It kind of reminds me of when they were saying like Hello Kitty is not a cat, she's a little girl. And you're like, what? Because I actually said that. You're like, what?
I have never quite figured, like, does Hello Kitty have a beak? Is that what?
No, the thing is that I think in Japan, it was originated in Japan, and I can tell you incidental funny stories as this. So one of my friends, Michiko, she's part Japanese, but she lives in Taiwan. She's Taiwanese too. And she says, and I said to her, so do you like Hello Kitty? Because Taiwan has a Hello Kitty Airlines. EVA actually has a Hello Kitty plane with Hello Kitty things on it. And really? Hello Kitty shaped meals. Yeah, EVA. So I don't know if they still have it, but it's been around. And I said, so do you like Hello Kitty? She's like, no. And I said, why? She says, because she doesn't have a mouth. And we were like, you're right. And the thing is that with Hello Kitty, like I would watch also the animated things as a kid. But the thing about Hello Kitty is like apparently in Japan, the reason why they don't draw her with a mouth is like she speaks with love and radiantness to everybody. I'm like, with no mouth.
Okay, but she has like a little yellow oval thing there, right? Or is that like, do I just have off-brand Hello Kitty?
Well, the thing is, like, they actually did make it more adult thing for Hello Kitty like 10 years ago, where they actually showed the silhouettes of her. So it's like, now they're saying, oh, she's like a Scottish fold. So she has this little, like stubby little sort of profile. Like, if you kind of look in the fashions of all Hello Kitty, there's that, like, you know how they have the profile where she's like this, and you see her kind of like her profile. And apparently she kind of has like a little, like a little Persian cat sort of profile, which was weird, but yeah, it's supposed to be her nose. I don't know. Okay. It's kind of like they say only Japan and only Asia, I guess. We come up with random shit like that, so I don't know.
My friend Greg used to make these amazing pieces of jewelry that were called Goodbye Kitty, and it was actually now super appropriate today because I had a little brooch of Hello Kitty drinking bleach.
And then I've heard of Goodbye Kitty. Like there was also a Hello Kitty Hell.
Really?
Well. Oh yeah. So this guy like would put up, because he says his wife wasn't really into Hello Kitty beforehand, but when she got into eBay, she got super into Hello Kitty because it would make her money. But he kind of hates it because it's like this too much Hello Kitty shit everywhere. I mean, I like Hello Kitty. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate it. It's like very cool on a lot of design levels, but after a while, I'm going like,
I don't want it everywhere.
Yeah, I don't want it. I have like some, like I have an oversized shirt of Hello Kitty as Santa Muerte, like as a candy skull. That's pretty cool. So it was different. But with her, it was just like he would show things from dildos to condoms to even people that do scarification where they cut designs into their skin. Somebody actually did a Hello Kitty like that. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. And like there was like disturbing pictures. Like there was this guy that drew Hello Kitty nude. And that was like horrifying. I mean, It wasn't like done. I know I'm listing sex stuff, but he didn't post just sex stuff. He posted like all sorts. But he's just like, what is this? I just don't understand. My wife looked at it, it's like, oh, of course we have to have it. And he's like,
as soon as anyone else's aesthetic becomes your identity, you're going down a bad path. Like,
oh God, yeah.
I have one or two, but like my favorite food in the whole world is KFC. I can talk for hours about the specific history of why KFC sucks in America and rules out in the rest of the world. And it's because they changed the recipe. I'm not going to get into it. But like KFC here is garbage. But because I like KFC so much, people know this about me. And so people like, that's great if you want to buy me KFC. Don't buy me Colonel Sanders merchandise. I don't need that in my life.
They actually,
like one thing. No.
They actually did as a joke out of that because like for a while they were making Colonel Sanders sexy or something. Like, hey, like, So they actually came out with a dating game. Like it was a Japanese-ass dating game on the phone. So you have to like hook up Colonel Sanders with the best dish ever.
What?
Anyway, stuff. Oh yeah, it was like you could. I don't know if it's still around, but it wasn't out too long ago. And they were all like just saying, "Oh, okay, you have to make this ultimate like KSC thing. It's like done all anime style." And he's like, with the glasses and
like the appeal of Colonel Sanders is that he's like a friendly old man, and they made him like a white-haired young guy, which is creepy.
Yeah, it's like he's supposed to be sexy, like the silver fox, but he's hot, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's like it's just like a little bit off.
I mean, the model they got for him was pretty good, but I was like, I feel really kind of weird looking at this. Like, he's supposed to be a man in his 60s and 70s. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying men in their 60s and 70s can't look good, but this is just weird to me because the real Colonel Sanders was far looking for that. He was just like this, crotchety, hot-tempered, old Southern white dude, but he wasn't a bad guy. He was just like, yeah, here, try my fried. Like Sean Astin looks like the most like him.
Yeah, I think he was probably a bad guy, probably. But like it's. I'm so often someone who's like, you can't separate the art from the artist, but then it comes to KFC, I'm like, I can 100% separate the chicken from the Colonel.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, well, to get back to Blastosaurus. Now, I actually have a bunch here. I met you. I got the trade, and I know that you're working on the free comic book day version of a Blastosaurus book.
Yeah, so this would have been our second year in a row in free comic book day, and there are 52,000 copies of it's called the Richard Fairgray Monster Showcase, that are, I guess, in stores and not being given out or something, now. And it's got a Blasto story. It's got a Black Sand Beach story, which is my new graphic novel, which came out last week. And it's got a little backup thing called Nigel's Having a Party about my best friend Nigel, who's a plastic skeleton, and his Halloween party.
Oh, wow.
And then it's got the first comic I ever made, which is Ghost, which is about a little ghost who's sad because he's invisible, so no one's scared of him. And that's from like when I was 7. But who knows when that'll happen?
Ghost sounds great. And so you've also done animation. And speaking of which, when you were saying about Black Sand Beach, that is a podcast?
Well, here's the book. This came out last week. It's 192 pages of like very scary comics for kids. I spent all my summers as a kid at a haunted lighthouse, so it's sort of loosely based on that. And like, I'm going to try and show you my favorite monsters in the whole thing. They're called Definitely Not Cows, and they're like bipedal horse creatures with mouths in their stomachs and turtle hands. Who absolutely will like creep into your house and replace you and convince your family to like kick you out. So they're my favorites in this book. So there's the book Black Sand Beach, Are You Afraid of the Light? From Pixel and Ink Books. And then 2 weeks ago we launched a podcast, just because I had, I'm stuck here. What else am I going to do? Called Tales from Black Sand Beach, and it's short horror fiction for kids. Basically, after a night of like old chicken wings and fever dreams, I wake up outside this abandoned lighthouse, and there's this box of dictaphone tapes left by a journalist who has disappeared. And each tape has a story of something spooky that he's discovered at Black Sand Beach. And they're funny and they're horrifying, and like they're all short. They're like 6 minutes each. 2 episodes are out so far. We played the first one for a little focus group of like 5 siblings, and I wasn't there because social distance. But my friend played it for his 5 kids, and they were all gathered around the floor listening to it on a phone, and they range from 9 to 15. and the second oldest and second youngest both got so scared that they had to leave the room. But the second youngest got jumped up so forcefully that she kicked the middle kid in the mouth. And the middle kid stayed holding her bleeding mouth until the end of the story because she was so engaged, which I think is like the best possible review.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
So yeah, it's everywhere. It's coming out, I think Tuesdays, and there's going to be 6 episodes for the first season, and then I don't know what will happen after that. Who knows? We may not be on lockdown anymore. We may all be trapped here forever.
Well, we just can go and apparently now what a lot of artists are doing is putting like stuff on masks. I've been trying to do that just because I don't know why, because I'm an ass. But yeah, like just the Blastosaurus mask. Look at that. Yeah.
I mean, it would just be green. There's nothing going on for him there.
No, but you could have like a mouth like like that, like
yeah.
Like I can't do the side cartoon thing that like what he does sometimes when he talks. Yeah, it's weird because like when you draw a cartoon, it makes sense, right? But when you actually like kind of try to do it in real life, you're like that doesn't no.
Well, when I was a kid, like I loved Ninja Turtles. Huge surprise from my now career in mutant crime fighting. I loved Ninja Turtles, and they would do that thing where their mouth was like essentially a figure 8, like closed and open at the sides. And I spent hours like looking in the mirror trying to figure, can I talk?
That scowl, like, and it's like.
Somehow
I think they're trying to acclimate the turtle beak, in that and everything.
I never managed to successfully look like a turtle. Who knew?
Well, it's weird because like I have a friend, she's an artist, and she lets her turtles kind of run everywhere, and like they just kind of run into things, and it's kind of amazingly fast how they run. They're like like that.
Oh,
and she told me like, oh yeah, that's Hank, and in there like boom, 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 like that. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? And he's like, oh, he's just horny. He's trying to hump things. I'm like, what? Just like. I just never, because I have friends that have red ear sliders and they're primarily waterborne, they're waterborne amphibians. So they'd like, literally like, I had a friend, like I would go to his house and literally they would just have this rock they'd stay on and they'd be swimming. And then like, they'd be both on the rock. And the moment you just walked into his room or walked into his family's house, they just jump off and start swimming and just looking at you. And you're like, what the fuck? But no, he's a tortoise. Like she found him, I guess he got dumped in a desert or something or whatever, but I forgot the origin story, but she had him and she knows how to take care of them. So she's telling me how turtles are. And like, literally they just scuttle everywhere. And I'm just like, it was just kind of weird. Just like walking around the house and having this turtle scuttling around everywhere, scrabbling somewhere.
I used to have a lot of rats that I did that with.
Yeah.
And it was nice because like I could sort of put them in their cage and close the door, but they knew how to open it. Yeah. And so I think at the height of it, we had 7 rats loose in the house.
Oh shit!
Which was terrifying for some people when they'd come over. But they were all like, they were mostly friendly. One of them was a monster. Her name was Alfred, and she would savagely bite anyone who came near her except me.
Damn.
So, her name was Alfred?
Yeah. we naming pets is one of my favorite things in the world. And I think I'm incredibly good at it, and I wish more people would take my suggestions for pet names. Because we had Alfred, we had my first rat, her name was Norman, just because I like that name. But we had the joke that very few people get, but we had 3 rats named Orton, Halliwell, and Hammer. And then we had this boy rat. We only had one boy, and his name was the Cape, named after the popular television series that lasted 9 episodes. But he was so fat. Like he was the large. I've got this one photo of him crawling on Nigel, my skeleton, and he is literally bigger than Nigel's head. Nigel's a full-size human skeleton, and this rat is bigger than Nigel's skull.
I'm really surprised about that.
He was a grotesque creature. And when he died, we had Alfred was stuffed with she had a little gun and a sack of money. And then our very kind rat, Krang, was hands up like this. And then we put the Cape in the middle, just trying to like piece things out, as this like weird blob between them.
So they're all taxidermied like this.
Those three were, and then the other ones. We ended up getting a dog, and then the rats we had were sort of no longer safe, so we gave them away.
That's just funny. Like you go home, oh my god! It's like, oh yeah, that's just our rat. He's chilling. You know? It's just like it's funny just going into people's homes because they're like an adventure in itself. Like it's just funny, like how like like I go to my friend's house and she had like these fucking random turtles like running around. It's just like to me, I was just laughing because you don't think of like turtles being like, yeah, okay, we do stuff. It's just like running around, scuttling around, doing their own things, scrabbling around on there, and it's like, or they kind of like hang out like this.
I mean, how big were these turtles? Were they like little, or like?
I think they're tortoises. I guess that's what they call
tortoises are land bearing and they get big, and then turtles are the aquatic. So like you said, red ear spiders, yellow bellies, those are turtles.
Yeah. Okay. So the tortoises, like I think she had two, Hansel and Gretel. And they were boxed, so they were kind of round, but they were kind of boxy and tall. Mm-hmm. They were about this big. They weren't really big. They were young.
Yeah.
But Hank is like about this big. Like.
Oh, okay.
Like almost a foot, I'd say. And he'd like ram things when he was hornier and stuff. She still has him. She's like, oh yeah, he's chilling out in the yard over there. He's just somewhere around. Like,
a friend of mine had a tortoise when I was growing up, and he went missing, and they never had any idea what happened to him. And then when they moved house, they found him, and he had fallen asleep behind the water heater and been cooked.
Oh God. Oh God. Damn, that sucks.
That story went dark real fast, didn't it?
Well, at first, the turtle, made for good soup. At first, the turtle was probably thinking, this is nice and warm. And then it was like, I can't get out.
Yeah.
Shit, you know? It's like kind of like.
I have a pond in my backyard, and I built the pond I had a red deer slider that I had for 13 years.
Yeah.
So now I have just the fish in there because I would always throw like a dozen feeders, little tiny feeder fish. And now I have these feeder fish that are this big because once she would eat her fill, she wouldn't eat any more fish. She would then keep them as pets until I threw more feeder fish in and everyone was on the menu. So actually it just got to be more and more pets for her after a while. And so now my big thing in my backyard is hummingbirds. So depending on the time of day, like last night, I had maybe a dozen hummingbirds.
What is hummingbirds right now? So like we've always had a couple, but like there's swarms of them at the moment. It seems like
they're the new bees.
Yeah, I'm on my 5th generation here, but because whatever's going on, like what you were just saying, I have probably around 40% more. I normally have around 6 to 7, but now last night I counted over a dozen.
Yeah, I haven't seen a squirrel for a while, but I've seen a lot of hummingbirds lately.
Speaking of, if we're going on that turtle meme, I got to send you that whole like feeder fish thing because it's really bad. And I was like laughing hysterically, even though I thought that was the most fucked up thing I'd ever seen. But there's this picture, like it shows this thing like, oh no, I dropped all the fish at work. It shows all the feeder fish on the floor. You know how they're small. And they're like, what do I do? I hate my life. And somebody wrote a comment, kick them under the fridge like you do with ice. I'm like, oh. I was like, wow. Oh my God. The shit that goes on. I have to find that and I'll send it to you guys. It's
the problem with that is ice doesn't smell after a while, but on a hot day like this, you're gonna be like, what is that smell?
I know, and like I probably sound like the worst person ever for even saying that, but it's just like sort of laughing hysterically because the imagery of that just like because like this person worked in a pet store and it's all like spilled everywhere and they're like, what do I do? I hate my job. And it's just when somebody just made a comment like, I kick him under the fridge like ice. I'm like, oh my God.
So the worst mess I've ever made. That's not a good way to start a story, but
and this is what I'm talking about going off the rails. It happens fast.
I worked at a honey factory one summer, and there was a guy there who was like a friend of the family who owned it, and so which meant he was just bad at his job but got away with it, right?
Oh God.
Right.
His name was Dwayne, and there were these big, like huge vats that would stir the honey, And he was like, one day, it was just he and I working there on a Saturday. He was like, hey, Richard, if we unbolt these from the floor and sit on top of them, we'll move around the place. And that'll be pretty exciting. I was like, absolutely, of course. I'm 17 years old. Why wouldn't I say yes to that? And so we rode the honey machines for a while, and that was all fine. And then we came back in on the Monday morning, and the honey factory was an old house, 2 floors, and the downstairs room was where we put all the honey in jars and put the labels on them. And we went down to the downstairs room and opened the door, and I just remember opening the door and just seeing this wall of honey in front of me, being like, nope, closing that again. And basically the machine had leaked through the floor and filled a room with honey.
Oh my God.
And I'm going to be honest with you. We scooped it all back into jars.
Oh,
that's awesome.
It's very antiseptic, actually, honey, because Alexander the Great was stuck in honey for quite some time. Here's a dead corpse. There you go.
But a really healthy dead corpse.
Yeah, it's just like, they say honey's antiseptic. I mean, that's what they keep saying. So it's just, it was just like, what? And I don't know. And then, I guess, they just put him in a crystal coffin and let him just lie there, floating around in honey. You're like, what the fuck is that?
I mean, and all I'm thinking is I remember how much we would charge for a tiny jar of honey. Imagine filling an entire coffin. But I mean, this room was just flooded with honey. And
oh my God.
Oh God.
Definitely our fault. We definitely didn't get in trouble for it, which was good. But we also found out later that the drinking water, not the water making the honey, but the drinking water there had been infected with very low levels of E. coli.
Oh shit.
Oh.
But because it was such low levels, everyone who worked there was now immune to E. coli.
So when you go to KFC here, you can eat it there. And if you eat a Jack in the Box, you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Even if it's you'd be the worst inspector ever. Yeah, I ate here, it was fine. Months later, it's everybody was sicking because they got E. coli.
I mean, in terms of getting a superpower, it's not the coolest origin story.
But
I just ingested a little bit of poop every day.
Well, you can just go and go to any third world or second world country or any country, eat the worst things ever and never get sick.
And drink the water.
Yeah. I'm not sure the immunity's still there. It's been 17 years, 18 years now. Worth a try.
Oh, okay. It ain't worth a try. No, I don't recommend it.
Yeah, don't eat a little bit of poo water. Don't do that. Don't do that at all.
No.
Yeah, no one. We didn't do it on purpose. But the truth didn't fall in that vat on purpose either. So.
See, I'm trying to find that picture. I'm going to find that picture. Hold on.
All right, let's talk more about comics because we've
absolutely. Since you're on lockdown, I've even had the luxury to be able to go back through any books or any stories that either you yourself have worked on or you forgot you had.
I actually have. I have just I haven't been reading very much. I've been listening to audiobooks while I work. My only way of staying sane is to work all of the time. So I'm doing the it's 11 o'clock now or whatever, but I've been up on the phone with someone in Toronto for 4 hours before this, working on another book. Wow.
Cool.
I have stumbled across old ideas I had I'm working on a thing with David Avalone that we meant to start before all this started, and now I'm finally writing that. And I'm working on a Frankenstein thing with some people, and I'm working on this new book which has sort of semi been talked about. So it's all I can say is it's called Crinimals. That's the one I've been working on this morning, and I'm super excited about it. It might be the stupidest idea I've ever had, but it's going to be awesome. And
I love it already.
It's animals who crime. That's it.
I love it.
And I'm doing a book called Cardboardia, which is coming out next year through Pixel and Ink, who did Black Sand Beach. And I just wrapped up the final pieces of the second Black Sand Beach book, just like fixing up some formatting issues and stuff. So that's all like good to go. And I'm very worried that I'm going to run out of things soon. But until then, I will continue working like crazy.
Well, you are working like crazy. I mean, right there, you just named over 4 projects, and that's not including the Black Sand Beach podcast you've been working on that you said you're 2 episodes into.
Well,
you have other
recorded
side that I know.
We recorded
that you've been working on
podcast, so that's all actually done. So now the only things I'm working on now, in terms of drawing, is Crinimals and Cardboardia, and then in terms of writing, there's 6 things.
Oh my God!
What's Cardboardia about?
It is about a group of kids who are able to travel back and forth to a world made entirely of cardboard by jumping through cardboard boxes. And it's a fantasy story for kids. And I like to think of it as like low budget fantasy because any kid can play this game themselves. I did. 4 kids who are like, there's a prophecy in an old board game that they're the ones that can save the cardboard and take down the evil Grey Queen. And I've got a 3-book deal for that, and I'm just started work on the art for book 1. So I'm about 6 pages in.
Oh, awesome.
So, but what I'm actually like, it's taken me a while to figure out what I love about it, and it's that because I've had the idea for a long time. I'm writing it with Lucy Camagnolo, who I know from New Zealand, and we've worked together on a few things before. We actually used to have a podcast about drinking and having conversation long distance, which is good practice for now. And
Sure.
like I am actually not usually a fan of like fantasy, and I'm not really a fan of stories where like stories like Digimon, where the kids will like that show starts with the kids entering the digital world, and then they're just there forever, or for the first 2 seasons, and it's fine. But like, I actually want to see kids in a real environment, and so this whole thing is designed that yes, they can be in the cardboard and have their cardboard adventures, and there's all kinds of cool magic stuff happening there. But the thing that makes these kids special is not that they're there; it's that they're able to go back and forth. So I'm getting to do this like multi-layered storytelling of like how their lives are affected when they are suddenly missing or in massive danger and still have to come home. So that's what's kind of keeping my mind occupied right now.
I'm liking the story. So you're saying you're writing this now and you're hoping it to be launched next year?
I'm drawing it now. The script for book 1 is completed, and with my editor, and she's approved the first big chunk of it. So that's what I'm drawing. I think the release date is a little over a year away. The company that I work for, they like a series. Their whole thing is they will only buy a series. So like Black Sand Beach, when I went in and pitched it, I was like, here's what the first 3 books will be. Here is 1 sentence for each book for the next like 100 stories after it. So I always go in with like something long running like that. And so Cardboardia, it's 3 books, but it's like a big sprawling soap opera for kids about these 4 kids in this cardboard world overthrowing the Grey Queen.
Wow, that's a lot to wrap your head around when you're saying that you have a whole world for Blastosaurus, you have a whole world for Cardboardia, and you have a whole world for Black Sand Beach.
Yeah, and then I'm doing this. I'm doing a thing at the moment about a girl who has too many ideas and they start falling out of her head as monsters, which I've been toying with for a while. And what else? I mean, Crinimals is a whole world of. I mean, we have everything in there. Every possible crime you could think of that an animal could commit.
So, like, how do they come out? Like, do they come out through her nose, or do they come out like pooped out, or what?
All different ways. They always fall out of her head. The first one that appears oozes out of her nose. It's a booger monster, and she thinks it's a dream and leaves it trapped in her backpack, and then it gets loose at her school. So some of them crawl out of her eyes, some are out of her ears, some come out of her mouth when she's talking. And it's all about like, the lesson of the story, I guess, is like to utilize your ideas and like do something good with them. And so it's about the like turning dumb ideas into good ideas, which is always my favorite thing, as I said. So yeah, it's nice because I get to do some like straight up body horror in a comedy series for kids.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, like the first introduction of body horror that I had as a kid was Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Especially when they talked about the woman. If you've read it, have you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so the part where like the woman that's murdered by her lover, and there's a picture of her, and that freaked me the fuck out because it was like skin and dirt and hair, and it's like this old mummified thing. And I remember in Stanford University, I grew up near there, and they actually had a mummy's hand out there, and I kind of wanted to touch it, but I didn't want it because we knew it was a real hand. I think it was under glass though, but it was like this weird thing. But like she had that whole thing, and then like I'm trying to remember all parts of that book. I love that illustrator because he was just so fucking crazy. He was completely self-taught, and just how he drew, it was like this combination of dirt, hair, and skin that you remember like touching in like cabins, like just cabin dirty kind of thing. Like if you were in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts here in America, I don't know what they would have over in Australia, but just something.
We had a version of that in New Zealand, but I got
New Zealand. I'm sorry.
I got asked to leave.
Oh, lucky you.
I was not interested in the activities that the Boy Scouts did. I was very interested in writing scary stories and staying indoors. So I feel like I'm a real inspiration. My father made me join a cricket team when I was a kid, and he paid me to do it because he was so determined that I would play a sport. So I like to consider myself a professional athlete because of that.
Sure.
But and the deal was it was $20 per game, plus a bottle of Coke and KFC on the way back each Saturday morning. This cricket, I was so bad at cricket, partly because I can't see, but also because like I'm not super fit. And I was so bad at it that the team of all 8 and 9-year-old boys got together and like wrote up a petition, and they all signed it and took it to the coach to ask if I could be removed from their team.
Oh wow!
Oh, man.
And they brought me and they're like, Richard, we all hate you. We don't want you here. Please leave. I was like, I'm getting paid to be here. I am absolutely not leaving.
Oh. So your athletic beef started then, like that's how you learn negotiation.
Well, I always think like I was talking with my father about this the other day, and he was saying that he regrets how well behaved he was as a kid because he never had any adventures. And because I was talking about, I feel like I'm getting older now and I don't have as many adventures. And right before this lockdown started, I was walking home, and like I live in it's a nice enough neighborhood, but like it's a little sketchy, and there's like certain areas of sketchiness between my house and my office, and I walk everywhere because I can't drive, obviously, because of eyes. And it was super late at night, and there's been this like shipping container on one of the streets for months.
Oh shit!
And I'm walking by, and the whole street smells like laundry powder, and like the whole street. It's it's like I don't know what's going on. And then this dude steps out of the shipping container in a full-on like wizard robe. He has like a Jesus beard and a big beer gut, and he says, "Hey, do you want to make some money?" And I don't know what's wrong with me because I said no, and I went home, and like I went back out to look for him. Like 20 minutes later, he was gone. Like I don't know what I missed out on, what kind of side quest in my life I could be. I mean, like I could also like have had my organs harvested, but like no risk, no work,
Oh,
that's hilarious. Yeah, like part of me would have been like, what are you talking about? Not like you really believed he would make you money, but it would just be like, what the fuck is he on about?
Yeah, I want to know like everything that had led him to like, why did it smell of laundry powder? Why was he in a shipping container? Why did he have a wizard costume?
He was Blood Ninja. Put him on a wizard robe and hat. My friend, actually, the funny thing, the story behind that is like my friend actually did those, but somebody gave it to this guy who stole it and put the Blood Ninja name on it. But my friend Cheese Dog, he's sadly no longer with us. He passed away 1 or 2 years ago. But he was on Fugly, and he would go and he'd fuck with people hardcore online.
Wow.
What a time to be alive. No, I was talking with my father, and he was wanting to know like what stuff I got up to as a kid, and I was like, oh no, I think my mother has an innate ability to like scam people. She used to tell us stories. When she told us the story when we were kids, and she said this to me and my older sister, and she said, when I was a kid, I would always walk slower than my brothers and sisters when we were given an ice cream or bought an ice cream. Or a popsicle or whatever. I would eat mine really fast and then start crying and go and tell them that I dropped it, and then I'd get and I was like, that's brilliant. Of course, my older sister said, I wouldn't do that. That's wrong. And my mother looked so disappointed in her, like just, oh, you're not one of us. But like we had a thing where you could ride your bike to school if you passed a bike riding test and you got a special license that said you could ride your bike to school. I wasn't interested in riding my bike to school, but the license came with free small fries and a free small soft drink from McDonald's anytime you presented it. And it had no expiration date. So I had to get this thing. And by the way, I did straight up use it until my 30s when I left New Zealand. Okay.
So you actually tried it. It still worked.
Yeah, I would use it all the time because I was like, no, it's official McDonald's. It's a bike license. I'm allowed to ride my bike to school. You will give me my free fries. I earned this. The truth is, I didn't earn it. I cheated because I realized that what they did is you were only marked down for doing things wrong. So they had all these, you had to ride your bike out of the school onto the street, turn left, and go around sort of like a 3-block radius, which involved crossing a couple of very safe streets and like turning some corners. And they had teachers at every location, at every point where you had to do a specific thing. And if you didn't do it, they would put an X next to your number. So if they didn't see you do anything wrong, you got no X's and you got your license. So I just went out of the school and turned right and just went in through the side entrance of the school and got a perfect score. I can barely ride a bike. I was never going to ride my bike to school, so it didn't matter. And I got free fries for 23 years.
Oh, I remember as a kid, I really liked reading, and they'd give you like a Pizza Hut pizza.
Oh my God, the Book It thing? Oh, I made so much money from Book It. Oh, I had the best.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because I really liked reading, and we'd have these stupid little exercises of composite reading comprehension, right?
Yeah.
So it's I would take them and I get bored and I just do the whole pile through school and turn it in and get A's, and finally I just had so much extra credit. But yeah, they give you a thing for free Pizza Hut if you read over a certain amount of books. At that time,
7 books a month for 4 months, and your whole class would be 3 out of the 4. Yeah. But most kids wouldn't read that much, so I would read books for other kids, write their 100-word synopsis of the book that they had to do to prove that they'd done it, charge them $3 per book. But because there were so many classes in my school with so many kids, I only had to read maybe 30 books in the entire time and just type out these things, print them off, and sell them for $3 a piece. It's amazing.
See, with me, I didn't go that far. I just said fuck it, I'll just read a lot of books. But then I was such a fat kid. I got all the personal pan pizza in the world. It's yeah, my mom's oh, you want to go get a personal pan pizza? I'm like, yep, I entered my badge. So she was totally fine with me doing that.
In New Zealand, it was all it wasn't. You didn't get a free individual pizza. You got, if your class did it, the whole class got to go to Pizza Hut, go backstage and see how the pizza was made, which is not an inspiring moment. And then you got free pizza for lunch, and it was a big all-you-can-eat pizza thing. Man, that was good.
Yeah, I was just laughing about it because it was just I was such a fat kid. I just read all that shit, and it's just But you got free McDonald's fries every time. Hey, that you went a step further.
It was just so worth it. And they would always look at me like there was something really wrong with me. I was like, I'm not sure what's wrong with me. I have a bike license and you don't.
You're jealous of me.
Yeah, you're jealous of me and my ability to ride my bike to school. And also, it was so old that it said, you could get a free Coke, Sprite, or Lead. Lead was a soft drink that had been discontinued maybe a year after I got this license.
What was it of?
I never even heard of it.
I don't know what it was exactly. Like, I think it was like a lemon flavored something, but it was, you know,
So kind of like Sprite, kind of, or 7-Up, similar to that.
No, because like 7-Up was already I think it was closer to just like a straight up carbonated lemonade, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
But again, it's a long time ago. I mean, I always chose Coke. So
That's why he came to LA. Just kidding. I drink Diet Coke. I can't stand the real thing.
this is another one of these things where like KFC, I can go off on a rant, but Coke has a different recipe in the rest of the world, and it's a really delicious drink, and it's terrible here.
Well, the thing is, we put it in cans. So, like, the thing is that I like the ones in bottles. Like the glass bottles, they'll have the real sugar. But
yeah,
like,
there's better than that though. Like,
oh, really?
Next time I'm going to see you in person, I'll get Ray to bring some real Coca-Cola down from Canada.
Oh shit!
And you can. It's just so much nicer. Like,
so should I bring a mirror so we could chop it up? By the way, note to people: I do not do Coke. I just drink a lot of Coke products.
Well, I'm guilty of the same thing. I drink a lot of soda myself.
Yeah.
I just kind of live on it. Between the coffee in the morning and then the sodas in the afternoon, it's kind of a lifestyle.
When I first moved out here, I was crashing at this recording studio that was sponsored by Red Bull, and you couldn't drink the tap water, so I just drank nothing but Red Bull for months.
Oh fuck!
Oh my god!
I bet you peed like yellow or something, like this weird reactive yellow type dirty thing.
There was a lot more like kidney pain that I'm used to. And all of us who were living there and drinking nothing but Red Bull did start getting like weird skin situations.
Oh,
but man, it was good. This was at the same time. I used to go for a big walk every morning, and kombucha, not really a thing in New Zealand. Like, it's there, but it's not like popular the way it is here. And so I would go for a walk and go to this place that we called the Sad Market, because it was this one market that is just so depressing because it's so spacious and there's no music playing and there's cement floors and everything's a little bit too far apart and everyone who works there looks sad, and they sell the driest chicken in the world and it's delicious. But so I'd go there every morning and I'd buy a couple of bottles of kombucha, go on my walk and drink them, and then get home and be like, I'm real sleepy. That's weird. I don't know what's going on. I had no idea there was alcoholic kombucha and that was what I was buying. I thought it was just the regular stuff, but it turns out that like some days I had to have a big nap in the middle of the day.
Yeah, it's weird because like I was trying to buy some and then they said, "Can I see your ID?" And I'm like, "What?" You know, because I bought kombucha before. They never asked me for my ID, and they said, "Oh yeah, if it's above a certain alcoholic content, it's like I guess if it's above 5%, then they have to card you." And I'm like, "Okay, but if it's like." Because not all kombucha has the same alcoholic content. There will be some because it's fermented, but some are 3% or lower, and other ones are 5%. And I didn't really realize it until and I just looked. I'm like, oh, well, okay, sure.
I was drinking 2 big bottles every day.
Huh?
I was drinking 2 big bottles every day.
Oh my god!
It's dependent per brand. Like some brands will have more, and some brands won't have as much. It's really weird, but it's legal to drink and drive with it in your car now. Like I've never heard anything like that where people are like, you get pulled over for having kombucha, because it's like I never thought of it that way.
Sure.
But,
I just want to be healthy.
Yeah, you just want to be healthy with gut health. So
yeah,
just fuck it. Let's just go straight to Kentucky Rye and we're good.
Oh
man. Kombucha and Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's awesome.
That tasted funny.
I am. Oh, well, you know what? We're at the 1 minute or 1 hour and 5 minute mark.
Oh,
so how about we call it here?
All right.
Not that I'm not enjoying the company. It's that I love the replay aspect of it. But before we go, Richard, could you do a recap of 1, all the projects you're working on, and then 2, kind of, I don't know, tentative release dates on these type of projects?
Black Sand Beach is out now, and Tales from Black Sand
Okay.
Beach is the first 2 episodes are already on all podcast platforms. Here is the cover of Black Sand Beach again, so everyone can recognize it. There's a lovely hardcover edition. There's a lovely softcover, and it's a full color comic of spooky things. It's my favorite thing I've ever done. Blastosaurus is in any comic store, and I think you can order it online from Golden Apple's website, I assume.
Yes.
Cardboardia is set for release in about a year's time, just after book 2 of Black Sand Beach comes out, and everything else is kind of just up in the air because who knows what's going on. But if you are looking for, I have a lot of books. I have a lot of children's books. If you are looking for picture books for 3 to 6 year olds, Gorillas in Our Midst. My Grandpa is a Dinosaur. That's Not the Monster We Ordered. Open in Case of Emergency is my favorite, and Sweet Penny and the Lion, which is a great like feminist children's book about standing up for yourself and like not being quiet and polite just because people tell you to. And yeah, I mean, my website is richardfairgray.com, Richard Fairgray Children's Author on Facebook, Richard Fairgray Author on Instagram, and I'm at Blastosaurus on Twitter, where I'm hilarious and underappreciated, I feel.
I can't agree. Seriously, I can't agree more. And those links that he talked about, they are in the description below. So for those of you in the community that may not have caught that, just check out the description below, and those links are in there. Christy, what about you? We didn't get to see you last week. What do you got going on? What would you like to tell the community what's going on with you?
Well, let me just segue from Richard. So I've been sending this book out, Alcoholics and Anonymous, right here. I've been fulfilling the Kickstarter rewards for that. It is actually available to sell. I'm selling it online. The autographed copies myself. You'll get it personally from me, and I'll sign it. And yeah, so I have a store up now filled with like buttons too. Let me get these pins. But this is what Richard did for Demon Bitch right there. So if you're going to take a look, it was horrifying yet sexy, and I think one of my friends stole the picture so he could have his way with it. I don't know. I've got terrible friends. And then I've got these pins from
love those pins.
Yeah, they're 12 a piece, and I'll send them. I can put my store thing up in a minute. Richard, I put your website up too. But yeah, so this is Demon Bitch Stabbed right here. And then the Demon Bitch Sperm here. I know this was supposed to be sort of kid friendly, but I totally fucked that up now. So but then yeah, so we got this Demon Bitch right there. Cool. And they're about 3 inches tall, 2 to 3 inches tall.
Yeah, they're nice size. I was noticing that. They're oversized.
Yeah, like I generally have a pretty good price. Like I'm actually running a Kickstarter next year. I mean, not next year, next month it looks like, as a big little segue. And I've been doing these stupid dummy thick Cove thick 19, like her with big tits and a butt. And then I have like the Plague Doctor and all that. So I've got the Demon Bitch, the first book here. Then here's the second book. And then when you get them from me, they'll be signed. There's personal monsters. I also have Sepulcher too. So, but that's what you can immediately buy, as well as there's other personal monsters pins you can buy on the website. Let me actually put that up right now, so you can guys take a look. It will take credit card, and that will be shipped. You'll be charged shipping and stuff with that, and I can send that out to you relatively quickly.
Nice. So yeah, again, community. Hopefully Richard will just pop in every once in a while on certain because what I'm going to probably end up doing is on regular Mondays, I'll probably do my margarita Monday nights, and then on Fridays I'll probably start doing cocktails and comics. So along with, yes, every other Thursday we'll probably be doing a regular thespian theater. So look for one of those thespian theaters to be on one of Richard Fairgray's stories. Hopefully we'll be doing a Blastosaurus. Richard, if you haven't seen one of our shows, I recommend you watch it. What we do is we voice act these stories. So
well, I should also mention I've been terrible with this because I love talking about myself. I do all the art, and I do write a lot of my own things on my own, but I want to mention again, Cardboardia is with Lucy Campagnolo, Crinimals is with Theo McDonald, and Blastosaurus, of course, is written with Paul Eiding, who is, you reminded me of him because you mentioned voice acting. He, of course, is a very well-known voice actor from Ben 10 and Transformers and Metal Gear and all those things.
Oh, cool, Metal Gear. Like, which character did he play on Metal Gear? He sounds familiar. I'm just like my brain is not working.
What? No,
I didn't know he was a voice actor.
Colonel Campbell. He's Colonel Campbell.
Oh, okay. I think I remember
I
him.
play video games, so I have trouble remembering.
No, it's okay because sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I know this person and he does this. It's like he sounds familiar, and it's like, oh, he does this really famous thing. Oh, I didn't know. Yeah.
Well, he's also the in Fallout 4. He's the Vault-Tec rep who introduces you to the game and leads you through, and then comes back as a zombie.
Oh,
wow. Oh, that's
I didn't know
cool.
that.
Yeah, he's actually I met him in New Zealand at a convention because he was there as a guest, and we went on a road trip together, and we bonded because his first film was a thing about a very sad vampire, and I just published my book Irrelevamp, which is about an elderly vampire who's no longer cool.
Is he dressed like Bela Lugosi?
Yeah, like so he's like a real classic Dracula type, and it was this was like right at the time when the Twilight movies were big, and so it was all about like this vampire. He would say things like, "I can transform into a bat," and these like woke young vampires would be like, "How about you transform into something that isn't a tired stereotype?"
That reminds me, like I was watching Twilight, so I got bored. I said, okay, what's the fucking big deal about this movie? So I opened it up on my laptop and I started playing a clip, and it sounds like Richard. It's like I didn't even give so much of a fuck that I can't remember the stupid like things. And some of the women my age were like, "Oh, this is such a great movie." And I'm like, "Okay, I know it looks fucking cheesy, but let me see how bad it is, right?" So I open it up. He says, "I'm going to show you myself," and they're in the sunlight. I'm like, "Okay, what's this?" And I already see what parts of it. It's watchable, but whatever. Mm-hmm. So he goes in the sun. He starts sparkling, and then I just close my laptop and turn it off. I'm like, no.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, now I see where sparkly comes from. It's like
I mean, my favorite movie growing up, and this is a terrible movie, but I've watched it 100 times, is a film called Grampire. And it's like, so there's my picture of Al Lewis from the Munsters.
Yeah.
Later in life, he played Grampire. A New Zealand-based vampire he's a grandfather who dies and comes back, and like it's just like there's no adventure, there's no danger. I think there's a vampire hunter in it, but I can't even remember. There is a scene where he goes to McDonald's and he's so out of touch he doesn't know they don't have waiters at McDonald's. It's just awful, but I've seen it hundreds of times. So elderly vampires really are just in my mind at all times.
I think also, I'm trying to remember, there was one, see the thing is like when I like started watching vampire movies, I actually really liked Lestat because it was like, yeah, he was kind of a bit of a fop, he was like kind of sparkly. Because when you read the book, he actually has hardened diamond skin and everything. That's when they get more powerful and older and everything. So it's like going like, look, this new sparkly vampire is like, Edward, fuck that guy. Like this guy is legit, right? But it's like Lestat was kind of an asshole too. So it was like you liked him at the same time, at least with Interview with a Vampire. But when you watch when you read the subsequent books, you're like, oh, you can see why he's like the way he is. Like several hundred years of boredom, and plus you're a free spirit. Your dad's kind of a dick, and your mom was like married to him just because it was an arranged marriage. And then you just say, hey, mom, you're a free spirit too. Let's be vampires together. Oh yeah, you become my girlfriend later on. I don't know what the hell that about. It just got weird, but it was like I did like the Interview with a Vampire series. I thought they were cool.
What changes in that story? What changes the outlook for Lestat is when you get to Mennock. So Mennock the Devil actually totally, because it's a standalone book, but that's what changes Lestat forever after that. So that softens him and changes his whole mentality and his whole outlook of life.
Yeah, like I think I didn't get to read Memnoch the Devil, but I did read up until Queen of the Damned.
What you'll want to read is Anne Rice's defense against negative reviews, because she is an insane person who, like, she refers to herself as like a god of writing. It's a rabbit hole that you will go down for months, and you will be thoroughly satisfied by it.
Wait, so this book is called In Defense of...
No. I'm saying like you just look up online Anne Rice review. Right. She is so passionately defensive about her own writing that she will go online and write responses to reviews.
Whoa.
Trippy.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Damn, it must be some shit right there.
She's definitely a unique individual. Definitely.
She's had a lot of very interesting shit happen to her. I mean, like she lost her
Yeah.
daughter due to leukemia, so that's what Claudia is from. Kind of like that's the homage to her daughter. And then she has a son named Christopher. I think I'm trying to remember which ones he's done. He sort of followed not in his mother's footsteps per se, but he kind of does horror genre from
Well,
last.
they're writing together now.
Oh, they're writing together now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a talk the two of them gave for their last book a couple of years ago.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, cool. Like, what books have they written together? I kind of drifted off that path.
It's
Me
the
too.
Egyptian stuff, where it ties in the larger mythology of. I can't remember. I couldn't get through it honestly. Like,
No, and I kind of know what you're talking about because
Like
she's
the
always
Mummy, right?
gravitated towards the Egyptian stuff because she has I believe, a history background.
Yeah,
She has
like
a big history background, so she interwebs real history with her lore stuff.
yeah, like the one that I've read about, the one that I've only read about her Egyptian stuff is The Mummy, essentially.
Yeah,
That's the only book I've read on that, but I'm pretty sure they expanded on that.
yeah. I can't remember what the title.
But anyways, this was about you guys. Let's not go off about it. So, hey, Richard, I appreciate you being here, and Christy. Christy, you too. Down the road, I will always be shooting you guys. Like I said, when I go online or stuff, if we're just hanging out, drinking or whatever, I'll always shoot you guys. Little links if you ever want to jump on. So, community, always check us out on our Artist Alleys on these Saturdays. You know where we're always here. Christy, predominantly, she's always with us. Please check out everything from Richard Fairgray. There's links down below, descriptions. And we appreciate you at 1-2 Comic Talk. Thank you very much, community. Stay with me, okay, Richard?
Bye.
Bye.